Welcome back, everyone. It's Charlie. James Gunn dropped a new Clayface trailer for the movie that's coming up later this year. It's like our first real big Batman-adjacent movie happening inside the DCU, and it is canon to the DCU, if that wasn't clear. It's not meant to be connected to the Matt Reeves Batman universe with Robert Pattinson. Basically, they're giving the Joker treatment to Clayface now. We're starting to see more Batman characters showing up, but I know probably the biggest question during all this will be what's happening with Batman during the events of this movie. Hopefully, James Gunn will answer some of those questions. There are a bunch of Easter eggs and references for Batman in the background, too, from the Batman comics, because he is a big Batman character, so we'll explain everything as we go through the trailer footage and some of the stuff that James Gunn and the DC people have revealed about it already. Starting at the beginning of the footage, this is Tom Rhys-Harries as the Matt Hagen version of Clayface. He's the second version, the actor who transformed himself into a being made of clay, a metahuman, so he will be a metahuman during the events of this movie, transformed by a scientist. They actually start the trailer with him in the hospital after his face has been disfigured. He actually starts as an actor who seems like he's on the rise. The song that they used across the trailer, I had to remove it from this video for copyright reasons, but the actual song that they used on the trailer was The Flaming Lips Do You Realize, which, big coincidence, was also used on James Gunn's Guardians of the Galaxy 3 several years ago, but used in a very ironic, very sinister context in this movie because of what he does to his face. If you couldn't tell from the tone of the music, it is meant to be the DCU's first body horror movie, rated R, and it seems like there's a lot of inspiration from movies like The Substance or Eyes Without a Face, a classic movie. As we see him regain his good looks with the treatment after he becomes a metahuman, but things slowly start to go wrong and he starts to break bad and turns into the Batman villain that we know from the comics. So it seems like, at least at the beginning of the trailer, this is right after his face has been disfigured by the mobster. There was a big Black Mask Easter egg when they were filming the movie, but I don't believe that Black Mask is meant to be the gangster who disfigures him. I believe it's meant to be Jimmy McCoy because of these newspapers that were spotted behind the scenes saying Public Enemy #1 starts jail sentence, and for some reason Matt Hagen gets involved with him, and he is the mobster that disfigures his face. He is a really deep-cut mobster that debuted in Batman #4 in 1940, like he goes way back to the beginning of the Batman comics. My assumption the way they're cutting the flashes here is him flashing through his memories, so this is before he was disfigured. He flashes again to another vision of him at a movie premiere that he starred in because he is a really big actor during the course of this. We get another flash of Jimmy McCoy, I'm assuming, disfiguring his face. This seems like they come to his home because these seem like really nice sheets that he's lying on, so I'm assuming maybe he owes them money or it has something to do with that. Usually that's why the mob comes to disfigure you like this. Note to self, stay away from the gangsters inside Gotham City. Batman advises, stay away from them. Then we see him in the medical mask that they put on him over his bandages after he leaves the hospital at first, before he's had his face fixed. And we get a couple flashes of Naomi Ackie, who is the scientist who gives him the treatment that turns him into the metahuman Clayface. This is meant to be the pink substance she's injecting into his face. She looks at one of her readouts that looks like the cells of his face that are able to change, like she's watching them being able to change. My assumption is that him staring in the glass at his reflection here is at Amusement Mile. I believe a big portion of the movie takes place at Amusement Mile, and this is after he's had the treatment, and he's seeing himself with his old face again. But this is why he looks kind of sad, like he's remembering himself before he had this done. This is why right after this, while he's still at Amusement Mile, he sees that his face is starting to melt, which I think is meant to be a reference to the Feet of Clay, Batman the Animated Series episode. They did say that would partially inspire some of the episode. Probably one of the best episodes of that Batman series ever. If you haven't seen Batman the Animated Series, it is amazing. Then the reason why he's running through the back alley here is because his face starts to melt and he doesn't want everybody to see it. We see him in bed with his face melting as he's getting used to his new ability. It seems like it's a little bit out of control here. This is another scene of Naomi Ackie's character, who is the scientist that gives him the treatment that turns him into the metahuman at Amusement Mile. Amusement Mile, obviously a big location for the Joker. We will see where the Joker pops up inside the new DCU, but I don't believe he's meant to be a big character during this particular movie. Neither is actual Batman or Bruce Wayne. I believe James Gunn still hasn't cast him yet, and we won't see him on screen. Maybe like some references during Man of Tomorrow, but not actually on screen as like an actual character with an actor that they've cast until Batman Brave and the Bold, at least according to James Gunn. There are a lot of other big Easter eggs at Amusement Mile with graffiti for characters like the Joker and other big Batman characters we'll talk about in a second too. So even if we don't actually see those characters on screen, there's a lot of Easter eggs for all the big ones, like all the big Batman characters in the background of the movie. While I was in the middle of finishing this video, James Gunn also revealed where this fits in the timeline, so officially, this is meant to be the first chronological DCU movie, so it takes place before the events of the Superman movie, but he didn't say exactly which year, so it does make sense that the Flying Graysons are still a thing, Robin has not become Robin yet, and it is possible that Batman has not yet become Batman, or he's about to become Batman when this is taking place. We get another shot of her inside her lab looking at the cells of what seemed like his face turns into, mutating here, changing into different forms, basically showing you what he looks like when he's able to mess with his face. We get another shot of what looks like him on an airplane, like in an airplane bathroom, with his face melting again. It's not totally clear who this woman is, but it might be when he's having his face disfigured, just because it looks like there's something crazy going on in the background. Then we get a wide exterior shot of Gotham City. It looks like it could fit inside Matt Reeves' Batman universe with Robert Pattinson, but like I said, it's meant to be connected to the DCU, so this is DCU Gotham, not Matt Reeves' Gotham. Then we see another shot of him on the street with his face melting, with him not wanting people to see him. Then it kind of seems like somebody is going after one of the mobsters. I'm assuming this is him trying to get revenge on the mobsters that disfigured him after he gets his face back. This is another shot of him with Naomi Ackie, that scientist that changes him. It seems like they start some kind of relationship. Not totally sure what's going on here, but it's him punching the mirror. It seems like he's spiraling, and this is after he's gotten his face back. Don't know who this character is looking upwards at the camera, but this might be somebody that he goes after. We get a real quick shot of Eddie Marsan walking past a Gotham City Police Department car. Notice that the logo is different from the Gotham City Police in Matt Reeves' Batman universe. That was the confirmation that this was not Matt Reeves' Gotham. I believe that Eddie Marsan is meant to be his manager during the course of the movie. He might be connected to the mobsters that wind up disfiguring him. And we get a real cool shot, this looks totally out of the comics, where he raises his arm up and he's transformed it into a giant bald spike that he kills somebody with. I'm assuming this is when he's going after the mobsters that disfigured him. This also looks like another similar shot where he's going after mobsters that came after him earlier in the movie. Not totally sure what's going on here, but he falls through a window. This seems like him with Naomi Akkie's character. And they end the trailer on that really freaky shot of him after he's had the treatment turned into a metahuman. He's in the bathtub and then changes his face in front of the camera just to show you what it looks like when he's using his ability. So this is basically what it's going to look like inside the DCU, and if you haven't seen any of the Clayface animated productions before, he's been in a number of different animated movies before. He can basically turn his body into anything, but obviously the way they depict him during the events of Creature Commandos, which is also meant to be canon to the DCU, which is meant to be canon to this movie technically, would mean that he is the version of Clayface that shows up during Creature Commandos. People have actually asked James Gunn about this because they seemingly killed that version of Clayface off during Creature Commandos, so people are like, James Gunn, have you killed off your Clayface before the events of Batman Brave and the Bold, before Batman ever really shows up in this universe, so we don't see Clayface ever go up against Batman at some point in the future? And he kind of hand-waved over it and claimed that Clayface might not be dead, so they might just conveniently have Clayface come back in live action and be like, hey, he's not dead anymore. But if you couldn't tell, the movie is meant to be rated R, so it is like one of the first real big rated R live-action movies that James Gunn is releasing under his DCU. He did not write or direct the movie, though. Mike Flanagan, also done a lot of horror stuff recently, wrote the movie. He wanted to direct the movie, but there was a scheduling conflict, so James Watkins wound up directing the movie. There were a number of big Batman and DC-related character Easter eggs in the movie, and I believe this is all meant to be just world building, James Gunn slowly building out the DCU that we'll see characters in other future movies do. Not necessarily in this movie, but we'll see what kind of cameos show up in the background. One of the nightclubs we see, Club Vesuvius, is where Zatanna performs in the comics, hinting that maybe we'll see her in the background of the movie, or maybe just teasing that she'll eventually show up in some other future movie, because James Gunn will be doing some supernatural stuff, magic-based stuff eventually. There's a brand new map of Gotham too. I did a much more detailed video of like all the big Easter eggs on the map here. This is meant to be based on the comic book map of Gotham City. For example, though, you see Wayne Terminus and you see a lot of other big Batman locations on the actual map, because Batman already exists when this movie is taking place, even though it seems like it's meant to be a prequel because it's the origin story of Clayface. The way that James Gunn has talked about it, his Batman is meant to have his version of Damian Wayne, so I believe that he's meant to be at least in his late 20s, if not early 30s by that point. But not that old, like he's not going to be as old as Ben Affleck's Batman. Currently, his David Cornswith Superman is meant to be in his mid-20s, so pretty close to how old Batman is meant to be, maybe just like a little bit younger, but pretty close. You notice there's a Black Canary sign making you wonder if Black Canary is going to show up during the movie. There's obviously a Roman Sionis sign that makes it seem like Black Mass will also appear in the movie. Obviously very big Batman character tied to the mob. There are a couple other Easter eggs for smaller things that we also saw during the Superman movie, like Zesty Cola, Soder Cola, which is a big thing that we saw during the Superman movie, Big Belly Burger, obviously a big thing in James Gunn's DCU. We'll see more of that during Man of Tomorrow, too. It also seems like there's a Roger Elliott Easter egg, who is the father of Thomas Elliott Hush, so he might wind up becoming a character in the DCU eventually. Then there's obviously this very big Easter egg for Jokers here, so I believe this is meant to be a reference to gangs and maybe the DCU version of the Joker, but like I said, I'm not expecting to see him pop up during this, but he would be active at this point just based on his age compared to Batman.
How about a magic trick?
But it is not clear if his main base is in Amusement Mile at this point. If James Gunn has been kind of cagey about what's happening with his version of Batman, he has said even less about his version of the Joker. Generally, it seems like the arc of the movie is that he starts just being a normal actor, gets involved with these mobsters, maybe it has something to do with his manager, then gets disfigured by them, goes to Naomi Ackie's character, becomes a metahuman, and then slowly breaks bad as he goes to get revenge against all these mobsters and winds up killing a whole bunch of people. Then by the end of the movie, goes through his full transformation and becomes the Batman villain that you know from the comics. Maybe by the end of the movie, they'll do the same thing they did at the end of the Penguin HBO series, where at the end of the movie, Penguin becomes comic book Penguin, like full-on comic book Penguin, and you see this bat light appear in the background, and it's just meant to be a reference that he is now on Batman's radar, and Batman will be coming for him eventually. So maybe at the end of this movie, there's something similar where there's a reference to Batman eventually coming for him. Like I said, though, probably one of the best things you could do if you're not familiar with the Clayface character is watch that Batman Feats of Clay episode. It is fantastic. Right now, though, elsewhere in the DCU, James Gunn is about to start filming the Man of Tomorrow movie, the Superman 2 movie. Brainiac is going to be the main villain. We'll probably see a bunch of other big characters that he'll introduce during the movie. There are all kinds of rumors that there's going to be a Wonder Woman cameo. We'll see more big Batman Easter eggs, and we might even see a version of Martian Manhunter appear in the movie. So it does seem like there's going to be a lot more Justice League setup going on in the background. But as we get closer to Clayface coming out in the theaters, and once it does come out, hopefully James Gunn will start talking more about Batman as we see more Batman stuff going on in the background of the movie. Everybody post all your reactions in the comments below, and if you spotted any Easter eggs or references, any Batman-related stuff in the trailer that I didn't talk about in the video, just write them below in the comments. Elsewhere in the DCU, we also have the Supergirl movie coming out later this summer with Lobo, Jason Momoa coming back. There's going to be a whole bunch more Superman Easter eggs and more general DC movie Easter eggs, so I'll do all kinds of videos for that as we get more footage. We also just had CinemaCon with a whole bunch of big trailer videos. I just did a big one for the Avengers Doomsday trailer. Click here for that, and click here for all my other big DC trailers recently, like the Lantern series. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.